Imagine a suspension bridge that can actually feel a microscopic stress fracture deep inside one of its concrete pillars.
Right, like a physical sensation.
Exactly. Long before a human inspector would ever, notice a problem, the bridge registers the anomaly. It calculates the exact rate of structural decay, and it literally automatically orders its own repairs.
Which is wild.
It is. I mean, that doesn't sound like civil engineering. It sounds like a science fiction movie. But the thing is, this isn't fiction anymore.
No, it's really not.
So today we are taking a deep dive into an absolute transformation of the physical world around you. We're talking from the roads you drive on to the power grids you rely on, all the way down to the structural bones of the buildings you work in.
Yeah, and it really is a profound shift in how we interact with the built environment.
Yeah.
We are pulling today from a massive, sweeping academic review. It basically captures the explosion of artificial intelligence in civil engineering.
And this review covers a huge time frame.
Right. This research synthesizes the major studies spanning from 1995 all the way through to 2025. And the core narrative here is that civil engineering, which is, one of humanity's oldest, most fundamentally physical professions, is suddenly outsourcing its intuition to machines.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second because traditional civil engineering is built on centuries of empirical design.
Trial and error.
Right. It is trial and error with raw concrete, heavy steel, and dirt. You build a prototype, you subject it to pressure, and you measure when it snaps. But looking at the scope of this review, it's pretty obvious those traditional methods are hitting a hard limit.
Oh, absolutely. The pressures of the 21st century well, they broke the traditional model, let's be real.
How so?
We are dealing with unprecedented, explosive urbanization alongside severe environmental degradation and a very real scarcity of raw materials. If you rely purely on human calculation and physical prototypes, you simply do not have the scale or the speed required.
Because there's just too much going on.
Exactly. You can't house and transport billions of people while simultaneously trying to prevent climate collapse using just a calculator and a blueprint. The math became too complex for human teams alone.
So your mission today, as you listen to us, is to decode this leap. We are exploring how artificial intelligence is stepping in, not to replace the human engineer, but to act as a hyper-intelligent co-pilot.
I like that phrase, a co-pilot.
Yeah. We want to understand the actual mechanisms behind how cities are becoming smarter, greener, and honestly, far more resilient.
And to really grasp the magnitude of this, you have to look at the timeline.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't a gradual, century-long technological evolution.
Right. It wasn't a slow burn.
Not at all. When you map out the publication data across all the major academic journals covering civil engineering, there's a literal dead zone. From 1990 all the way through 2005, there's near total silence on artificial intelligence.
Wow.
Yeah, globally you might see one single paper published a year.
Which is fascinating because AI as a concept existed back then, right? Computer science was advancing rapidly, yet the people building our highways and skyscrapers were essentially ignoring it.
They were. The industry simply didn't trust it. And frankly, early artificial intelligence couldn't handle the variables.
Because the construction is messy.
Oh, it's incredibly messy. It deals with nonlinear, unpredictable physical elements. You've got soil mechanics, unpredictable weather patterns, the fluid dynamics of groundwater.
Right. It's not a closed system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Early AI was great at playing chess, where the rules are fixed and perfect. It was terrible at predicting how a hillside might erode after 3 weeks of unseasonable rain.
Okay, but then something dramatically shifted because looking at the data around 2016, there's this steady climb.
Yes.
And that culminates in a massive spike around 2020. Suddenly, there are dozens of key, groundbreaking publications dropping in a single year, and that momentum just keeps accelerating through 2023, 2024, and into 2025. It feels like civil engineering was trying to solve a 1,000-piece puzzle by just forcing pieces together, and AI finally gave them the picture on the front of the box.
That is a brilliant analogy.
Thanks. But why did it take so long? I mean, why the sudden boom in 2020 and beyond?
What's fascinating here is that explosion maps directly to the maturation of very specific technologies, particularly artificial neural networks, or ANNs, and advanced computer vision.
All right, ANNs.
Right. Neural networks finally gained the processing power to handle the sheer chaos of a construction project. Instead of requiring a human to manually input every single variable, neural networks could be fed millions of data points from past infrastructure projects.
Like what kind of data points?
Everything from soil samples to local temperature fluctuations over a decade. And the AI could independently find the invisible patterns that lead to structural failure.
Okay, I get that a neural network can process historical data faster. But I have to challenge this a bit because civil engineering isn't just a spreadsheet.
No, it's
Construction sites are pure physical chaos. You've got mud, you've got delayed supply trucks, you've got human error where someone, I don't know, pours the concrete too wet. How does an algorithm actually account for the unpredictable reality of a physical job site?
And that is where computer vision changes the game completely. It
Yeah.
bridges the digital and the physical. We now have cameras on job sites that use machine learning to process visual chaos in real time.
Wait, real-time video processing.
Yes, the AI isn't just looking at a schedule, it is physically watching the rebar being laid down. It can recognize if a support beam is off by, say, 2 degrees,
Hmm.
or if workers are operating too close to heavy machinery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it halts the process before the mistake is permanently encased in concrete.
Here's where it gets really interesting. So it's actively comparing the messy reality of the site against the perfect digital blueprint every single second. And that moves us into the actual urban planning phase, which researchers like Rosvi in 2022 and Carvalho in 2024 highlight as a transition from reactive engineering to proactive engineering.
The reactive model is what we're all used to, unfortunately. A water main bursts underneath downtown, causing a massive sinkhole, and the city scrambles to fix it.
Right. Or a new highway opens, commute times actually get worse, and planners scramble to add another lane.
Yes, the classic induced demand problem. The damage is done and the money is wasted. AI flips that entirely.
How, exactly. I mean, the phrase smart city gets thrown around a lot, but what is the actual mechanism making the planning proactive instead of reactive?
Let's look at GIS-based spatial analysis. GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. Previously, planners would look at a static map and make educated guesses.
Right.
Now, AI takes that map and layers immense amounts of dynamic data on top of it. Real-time GPS data from cell phones, historical traffic patterns, population density metrics, and even local economic growth forecasts.
So it's essentially running a simulation of the city's future.
Precisely. Before a single shovel hits the dirt, the AI simulates how a proposed highway will alter commute times, how it will shift local business foot traffic, and where the new traffic bottlenecks will form 5 years from now.
That's incredible.
It is. The city can test 50 different infrastructure layouts in a day to find the most efficient one.
And once that infrastructure is built, we get into that real-time health monitoring I mentioned at the very beginning of our deep dive. We aren't just sending inspectors out with flashlights anymore.
Far from it. We are embedding acoustic and strain sensors directly into the concrete and steel as it's being constructed.
Into the actual materials.
Yeah. Take a massive suspension bridge. The AI learns the exact acoustic signature of that bridge under normal traffic loads. It literally knows what the bridge sounds like when it's perfectly healthy.
So if a microfissure forms deep inside a concrete piling, something completely invisible to the human eye, the pitch of the tension changes slightly.
Yes, human ears could never detect it. But the acoustic sensors pick up that tiny anomaly, the AI flags the structural fatigue instantly, and calculates exactly how many weeks until the fissure becomes dangerous.
Predictive maintenance.
Exactly. You fix the bridge for a few $1,000s today instead of rebuilding it for a few $100 million tomorrow.
And that concept gets pushed even further in a 2025 paper by Nyokum and Tamut. They explore this idea of digital twins, which, I'll be honest, sounds like a corporate buzzword, but the actual mechanics of it are staggering.
Oh, it's not just a buzzword.
For every physical building or rail system you construct, the AI generates a functioning, physics-based digital replica in the cloud.
Right, and a true digital twin is connected to the physical structure via all those embedded sensors we just talked about. It's a living model.
So it updates in real time.
Yes, you can run intense simulations on the twin that you could never do in reality. You can subject the digital twin of a skyscraper to 50 years of simulated wind shear or a magnitude 8.0 earthquake over the course of an afternoon.
Which means you see exactly which joints fail first, allowing you to reinforce the physical building before the real earthquake ever hits.
Exactly.
And when you look at Carvalho's systematic study, which analyzed 46 different academic papers on sustainable smart cities, this technology is presented as basically a survival mechanism.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really is about survival.
Yeah.
We cannot manually optimize public transportation grids or power distribution for booming megacities.
Right.
We need an AI processing that load in real time just to keep the lights on and the trains running.
The scale of human population growth basically demands it.
It does. But managing the scale brings up an existential problem for the industry. Pouring concrete and forging steel are historically some of the most carbon-heavy, ecologically destructive activities on the planet.
Which brings us to the green blueprint section within the source material. How does AI actually intersect with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Because, let's be real, just making a city smarter doesn't automatically mean you stop polluting.
No, it doesn't. But AI is driving the green transition through radical efficiency. The first major mechanism is energy consumption. Machine learning algorithms don't just put buildings on a set thermostat.
Right, they do way more than that.
They pull in massive data streams, predictive weather models, real-time tracking of human body heat moving through different floors, even the angle of the sun at different hours.
Oh, wow. Human body heat.
Yeah. The AI then optimizes the HVAC and lighting systems minute by minute, significantly slashing the greenhouse gas footprint of massive corporate structures.
But the green footprint starts way before the building is even occupied, right?
Right.
Right in the design phase, using something called generative design.
Generative design is arguably the most visual representation of AI in engineering. Historically, an engineer draws a blueprint based on standardized steel beams and known geometry.
Right, grids and right angles.
Exactly. But with generative design, the engineer inputs the constraints into the software. They say, I need a roof that covers this much area, holds this much snow weight, and uses 30% less steel than a standard build.
It's like natural selection on fast forward.
That's a perfect analogy.
Hmm.
The AI breeds tens of thousands of different architectural designs in minutes.
It literally breeds them.
Yeah, it runs structural simulations, letting the weak designs fail, keeping the best elements, and iterating over and over.
Yeah.
What survives that simulation is often mathematically perfect, but visually bizarre.
You end up with these crazy, organic-looking support beams that resemble human bone structures rather than traditional blocky steel beams.
Right, because the AI puts the material only exactly where the load-bearing physics demand it. It wastes absolute nothing, pushing us toward a circular building model where raw material use is drastically minimized.
And that level of precision is being applied to environmental resource management as well. I was reading about municipal water systems. Cities lose millions of gallons of clean drinking water every single day just through tiny undetected leaks in aging underground pipes.
It's a massive issue.
But AI, again using acoustic sensors, listens to miles of pipeline to pinpoint the exact GPS coordinates of a microleak. It prevents catastrophic blowouts and conserves critical resources.
It's incredibly effective.
But wait, let me interject here, because there is a massive bureaucratic reality to going green.
Oh, definitely.
It doesn't matter how fast a computer designs an energy-efficient building or how little steel it uses. If it takes 6 months for a human inspector with a clipboard to actually certify it, getting a building certified under major sustainability standards like LEED or BREEAM involves absolute mountains of paperwork. Doesn't the human red tape choke the AI revolution?
Historically, yes, the certification process was incredibly slow. To get a building certified by ELE, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, you have to prove everything.
Everything.
You need supplier invoices, proving materials were locally sourced. You need the thermal coefficient specifications for every single pane of glass, and you have to cross-reference all of that with local municipal codes.
It's an administrative nightmare.
It really is. But the review highlights how natural language processing, or NLP, is automating this entire compliance bottleneck.
So how does NLP fix it?
Well, NLP allows a computer to read, understand, and categorize human text. So instead of a team of human auditors spending months reading binders of specifications, the NLP system just reads the supplier PDFs.
It just reads them.
Yeah, it extracts the R values of the installation and instantaneously cross-references them against local environmental codes. It flags conflicts in seconds, turning a massive bureaucratic slog into a streamlined, error-free, automated sweep.
That drastically accelerates the timeline of green development. So if the technology is this capable, if generative design can save millions on materials, if digital twins can predict structural failure, and if NLP can clear the red tape, why isn't every construction site run by AI right now? That's the big question. Right. If you look around your average city, construction mostly looks exactly the same as it did a decade ago.
Because the capability of the technology has severely outpaced the capability of the human workforce. The primary roadblock holding this entire revolution back is human capital.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? There's a 2025 study by Islam and colleagues focusing on civil engineering education that gets right to the heart of this. Traditional students are really struggling to adapt.
It's a huge learning curve.
They enter university expecting to learn the old empirical trial and error mindset, and suddenly they're being asked to understand deep learning algorithms.
Right. And the industry is desperately trying to bridge that gap in the classroom using building information modeling, or BIM.
Dim.
Yeah, BIM goes far beyond just drawing a 3D model. It's a virtual sandbox. It allows engineering students to collaborate in real time, adding the dimensions of time and cost into the model. They can simulate how different concrete mixtures cure under specific weather conditions before they ever step onto a real job site.
But even with BIM revolutionizing the classroom, the professional roadblocks are severe. The source text points out massive implementation costs. Deploying thousands of acoustic sensors and running cloud-based digital twins requires a massive upfront financial investment.
Right, an investment that many developing cities simply don't have.
Exactly.
And beyond the financial cost, there is an immense cybersecurity risk. If you hand over the optimization of a city's power grid, traffic lights, and water pressure to a centralized AI network, the data protection implications are terrifying.
The infrastructure becomes vulnerable to digital attacks in a way it never was when it was just, dumb concrete and analog switches.
Exactly, which feeds directly into perhaps the most complicated hurdle, the black box problem.
Ah, right. If AI is so good at generative design, why don't we just let it build everything? Why do we even need the human engineer?
This raises an important question about liability. In civil engineering, an engineer must place their professional stamp on a blueprint.
Right, they have to sign off on it.
Yes. That stamp means I have done the math and I guarantee this bridge will not collapse and kill people.
Huh.
But deep learning models are notoriously opaque. They act as a black box.
So we don't know how they get their answers.
Right. The AI might output a highly efficient design that saves 20% on steel, but it cannot always show the engineer the step-by-step mathematical logic it used to arrive at that design.
And if you don't know the math, you can't sign off on it. You cannot ethically place human lives in the hands of an algorithm you don't fully understand.
Exactly. You need someone who is a master of structural physics to verify the output, but that same person also needs to be fluent in machine learning to understand the parameters of the AI. That kind of interdisciplinary talent is incredibly rare right now.
So if you're listening to this and you're sitting in gridlock traffic, wondering when the smart city algorithms are going to fix your commute, the reality is that it's a slow burn. The hardware and software are ready, but the human institutions have to evolve to deploy them safely.
When you analyze how researchers are weighing the priorities of this entire shift, there is a very deliberate balance.
No kind of balance.
For every ounce of focus put on innovative technologies or project life cycles, researchers are demanding equal focus on public accountability. If a machine learning model is deciding which neighborhoods get smart infrastructure first, or where a new high-speed rail line is routed, those decisions cannot be made by a tech company in a vacuum.
Because of algorithmic bias.
Yes, the data and the reasoning must remain transparent and fair to the public.
It requires a massive collaboration between governments enforcing safety, universities training this new breed of hybrid engineer, and private businesses funding the tech. It basically elevates civil engineering from a siloed profession into a deeply interdisciplinary science.
It forces civil engineers, computer scientists, and environmental ecologists to all speak the exact same language.
So, to pull all of this together, we are witnessing the end of an era. The days of waiting for a pipe to burst or a bridge to crack are ending. By integrating artificial neural networks, computer vision, and generative design, we are moving into a proactive age.
A totally new paradigm.
Right. The human engineer isn't being replaced. Their intuition is being augmented by a digital co-pilot that can process the infinite complexities of a modern, changing planet.
We are equipping ourselves with the tools necessary to survive our own growth. We are transitioning from static, unresponsive blueprints into dynamic learning systems.
Which leaves me with a thought I want you to mull over as we wrap up. We've talked extensively about how digital twins and real-time health monitoring allow structures to learn, to optimize themselves, and to predict when they need healing. If our infrastructure is constantly sensing its environment and dynamically reacting to stress, heat, and human movement, will the buildings of the future cease to be mere objects?
Oh, wow. It blurs the line between a structure and a living organism.
It really does. Are we moving toward a reality where the concrete and steel around us behaves less like a shelter and more like a living, breathing ecosystem? Something that adapts to us and our changing climate faster than we can adapt to it. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The next time you walk into a high-rise office or drive across a suspension bridge, we hope you look at the physical world around you just a little bit differently.